Here's Mick Lynch, trade union leader for the RMT, talking about how the government is deliberately derailing negotiations for pay rises.
Despite every effort made by our negotiators, it is clear now that the government is directly interfering in our attempts to reach a settlement. The union suspended previous strike action in good faith to allow for intensive negotiations to resolve the dispute.
This has led rail workers feeling the need to strike over Christmas and has cast them in the role as ruining festivities, and Lynch being called a Grinch.
What do you think the travelling public would vote if you offered them the chance, given the Christmas disruption? You've had a reasonably fair win from quite a lot of people thus far, but it's Christmas next weekend particularly. That's a huge moment for the economy and for people's personal lives.
I'm sure that the travelling public will be really disappointed and irritated and angry.
But it's not just the rail workers, as unions from all sectors feel the need to strike for better pay too. Here's Tory MP Gillian Keegan acting as if there's nothing the government can do as Christmas goes down the pan.
What role does the government have to accept in ruining people's Christmases?
Oh, well, this is just the most disappointing news, actually, the fact that we've got these strikes going on. They're going on over Christmas. People are trying to see their families. You know, we don't get that much time to all come together. And so it's really, really disappointing. I mean, obviously, this is, between the unions and the paymasters.
Here, though, Labour MP Pat McFadden adds a counter-narrative.
Unions are holding this country to ransom.
Look, I don't think it's about that. And, you know, I've done these interviews with you over a period of time on this now. And as this has grown from rail sector to postal workers to the NHS and now the airports and the border force, there's no point in going through dispute after dispute and blaming the staff who are going on strike. Even the union leaders themselves. I saw an interesting quote from Gary Smith, the leader of the GMB union, yesterday. They are being taken aback by the strength of feeling among the workforce. I think there's a bigger question here. How is the government going to get a grip of strikes that are now in one sector after another, that are going to cause huge inconvenience to the public? And even when we don't have strikes, even when there isn't a strike day, things don't work properly.
Back to Mick Lynch on how the Tories are keeping this dispute going.
Because the people that I'm negotiating with don't suffer any detriment whatsoever. Their lifestyles and their lavish salaries continue in the millions, and the train operating companies that they represent don't have any loss of revenue or any loss of profit. And in fact, they made profits all through the pandemic and all through our strikes. They've made money. And this government is corrupting business in this country. It's punishing brewers, restaurateurs, entertainment industry in return for their ideological pursuit of a dispute with the railways and the trade unions, and to set down a marker against other public sector workers that they've got to be impoverished for the state of the economy that this government drove us into.
Here, Labour MP Ben Bradshaw exposes the plan to hold up negotiations as he grills Transport Secretary Mark Harper.
You can't claim you didn't see the splash on Monday in the Daily Telegraph claiming Number 10 at the last minute has added driver-only trains as an issue to this dispute. Was that report incorrect?
Well, I was specifically talking, Mr Morris asked me a question about a report today, which I haven't seen.
It was on Monday.
On the general
The Secretary of State, did you not see this report, and is it true?
No, I've been very clear that we've... I was asked to facilitate a new offer.
Driver-only trains being introduced by the Number 10 or the Treasury at the last minute. It wasn't on the table before.
On reform, we're very clear.
No, answer the question.
We're very clear we need to see reform.
The question.
On the specifics about detailed negotiations are taking place between employers and trade unions. It's not the government's role to micromanage the detail of the reform.
And I've been waiting for the last 2 or 3 days to go back to the table with those companies. And it's quite clear now that the government has got no interest in making a proposal or allowing those companies to make a proposal. And it's also absolutely clear that they have torpedoed these talks. We gave them 3 weeks before the start of the first phase of action. And the companies, the senior executives of the railway, had put together a document that they wanted to put to us. They'd also put together a set of pay scales that they wanted us to consider, and we would have done that, as we have with Network Rail, which we've put to a referendum. But at the last moment, including last night at around about 6 o'clock, the government decided that they would not allow the railway companies to make that offer, and instead have instructed them to prepare for the strike action.